Hey guys, today we are listening to one of the greatest short stories from the book of 100 World's Greatest Short Stories. The title name is The Open Window. This story was written by H.H. Saki and narrated by Harshita. My aunt will come down very soon, Mr. Nuttall said, a very calm young lady of 15 years age. Meanwhile, you must try to bear my company. Frampton Nuttall tried to say something which would please the niece now present, without annoying the aunt that was about to come. He was supposed to be going through a cure of his nerves, but he doubted whether this polite visit to a number of total strangers would help much. I know how it will be, his sister had said when he was preparing to go away into the country. You will lose yourself down there and not speak to a living soul, and your nerves will be worse than ever through loneliness. I shall just give you letters of introduction to all the people, and I know them. Some of them, as far as I can remember, were quite nice. Frampton wondered whether Mrs. Stapleton, the lady to whom he was bringing one of the letters of introduction, was one of the nice ones. Do you know many of the people round here? Asked the niece when she thought that they had sat long enough in silence. Hardly one, said Frampton. My sister was staying here, about 4 years ago, and she gave me letters of introduction to some of the people here. He made the last statement in a sad voice. Then you know about almost nothing about my aunt, continued the calm young lady. Only her name and address, Frampton admitted. He was wondering whether Mrs. Stapleton was married. Perhaps she had been married and her husband was dead, but there was something of a man in the room. Her great sorrow came just 3 years ago, said the child. That would be after your sister died. Her sorrow Frampton show somehow. In the restful country place, sorrows seemed far away. You may wonder why we keep that window wide open on an October afternoon, said the nurse, pointing to a long window that opened like a door onto the grass outside. It is quite warm for the time of the year, said Frampton. But has that window got anything to do with your aunt's sorrow? Out through that window exactly 3 years ago, her husband and her 2 young brothers went off for their day's shooting. They never came back. In crossing the country to shooting ground, they were all 3 swallowed in a box. It had been that terrible wet summer, and places that were safe in other years became suddenly dangerous. Their bodies were never found. That was the worst part of it. Here the child's voice lost its calm sound and became almost human. Poor aunt always thinks that they will come back someday. They do. Then the little brown dog that was lost with them and walked in at that window just as they used to do. That is why the window is kept open every evening till it is quite dark. Poor dear aunt, he has often told me how they went out. Her husband with his white coat over his arm, and Ronnie, her youngest brother, singing a song as he always did to annoy her because she said it affected her nerves. Do you know, sometimes on quiet evenings like this, I almost get a strange feeling that they will all walk in through the window. She stopped and trembled. It was a rueful phantom when the aunt came busily into the room and apologized for being late. I hope Vera has been amusing you, she said. She has been very interesting, said Frampton. I hope you don't mind the open window, said Mrs. Saperton brightly. My husband and brothers will be home soon from shooting, and they always come in the way. They've been shooting birds to stay near the boat, so they'll make my poor carpets dirty. All you men do that sort of thing, don't you? She talked cheerfully about the shooting and scarcity of birds and the hopes of shooting in the winter. To Frampton, it was all quite terrible. He made a great effort, which he was only partly successful, to turn the talk onto a more cheerful subject. He conscious that his hostess was giving him only a part of her attention, and her eyes were frequently looking past him to the open window and the grass beyond. It was certainly unfortunate that he should have paid his visit on this sorrowful day. The doctors agree in ordering me complete rest, no excitement and no bodily exercise, said Frampton, who had the common idea that total strangers want to know the least detail of one illnesses, their cause and cure on the matter of food. They are not so much in agreement, he continued. No, said Mrs. Sappleton in a tired voice. Then she suddenly brightened into attention, but not to what Frampton was saying. Here they are at last, she cried, just in time for tea. And don't they look as if they were muddy up to their ears? Frampton trembled slightly and turned towards the niece with a look intended to show sympathetic understanding. The child was looking out through the open window with fear in her eyes. With a shock, Frampton turned round in his seat and looked in the same direction. In the increasing darkness, three figures were walking across the grass towards the window. They all carried guns under their arms, and one of them had also a white coat hung over his shoulders. A tired brown dog that close at their heels. Noisily they drew near to the house, and then a young voice started to sing the darkness. Frampton widely seized his hat and stick. He ran out through the front door and through the gate. He nearly ran into a man on a bicycle. Here we are, my dear, said the bearer of the white coat, coming in through the window. fairly muddy, but most of it dry. Who was that who ran out of as we came up? A most extraordinary man, Mr. Nutter, said Mrs. Sapleton. He could only talk about his illnesses and ran off without a word of goodbye or apology when you arrived. One would think he had seen a ghost. I expect it was the dog, said the niece calmly. He told me had a terrible fear of dogs. He was once hunted into a graveyard somewhere in India by a lot of wild dogs and had to spend the night in a newly dug grave with the creatures just above him. Enough to make anyone lose nerve. She was very clever at making up stories quickly.